Good morning to everybody. I am Rafael Tesoro, part of the team of the European institutions that we work in cybersecurity. I want to say hello to all of the participants in this 14th edition of ENISE, to the ones which are in León and the ones like me, who thanks to technologies we participate from, in my case, Brussels. I also want to say thank you to the INCIBE, the opportunity for this following minutes that I'm going to have to present the initiatives that from the European Union we are doing towards cybersecurity. So I'm going to use these slides. So the recuperation of the pandemic, probably it's going to be green and digital, not only the recovery, but also somehow from the European institutions. And I think that from here we do it together with other agents of the European society. I think what we want to do is to shape it, not only a recovery, but shape the following, the world that's coming. And as I said, green and digital. And cybersecurity and digital transformation are two faces from the same coin. This is the words of the President of the Commission. I think without cybersecurity, there is not a successful transformation. The challenges in cybersecurity which inspire our work from the European Union are quite a lot. Here we have a list. I'm not going to talk about all of them. I'm going to pick just a few. For example, the attack surface, it's growing with the telework. For example, with this growth of telework, the explosion basically in this last month of telework, the virtual schools at home, and also the IoT, the 5G communication networks. These are examples in which you can see that the surface of the attack is growing. The safety and security of the supply chain, I think in the panel this morning I've been listening to, they have talked about this. There's a lot of cyber dust. What we say is the reutilization of the code that it's failing. Also the threats, which is not going to be now, but the quantum computation. The day that we get a quantum computer, we know there are some quantum algorithms that will break the cryptography protections that we use nowadays. The commercialization of the research and design, we are really good in the research and development in cybersecurity in Europe, but we are still facing a challenge in which society has to adopt these innovative solutions in cybersecurity, and that these are deployed and implemented in a very wide way. We use sometimes the metaphor of this jigsaw in the actions from the Union. I don't know how many colors are there in this image, but I'm going to use 3. They could be grouped in 3 colors. The ones with laws, the ones that we say called recommendations, in English soft policies, and then the investments, the funds, the euros basically. We want these pieces to fit together. Here there are some pieces of this puzzle. The cybersecurity European strategy, it's some years old, and I can tell you it's going to be updated, this strategy, in maybe by the end of this year, beginning of the following year, including the actions, nowadays actions, and also new ones like revision of the MIS Directive. Today I'm going to talk about the things we are doing, not this about this updated strategy. I just ask for a little bit of patience. When it comes to norms and laws, we have talked about this GDPR that has been a catalyst of these norms. There's other laws and policies. I'm going to talk about two. The European Cybersecurity Guide. This act has two fundamental parts. The first one, it established a unique European framework of a cybersecurity certification, a voluntary framework to allow the creation of several schemes of certification in cybersecurity, which are appropriate to each sector, to each domain, and that certifies products, services, and a process of ITC or digital, and that these certifications under these schemes are valid in all of the countries member of the European Union. So, for example, if an administrator from Spain certifies a product or an ITC service, then he cannot, when he exports these products or commercializes these products in the European Union, it's not necessary to go through the process again of a different certification once they have got the official one. And the other important part of this European Act has to do with the reinforcement of the Cybersecurity European Organization, which is called ENISE. I guess that the participants of the ENISE already know the ENISE, so I'm not going to talk about this for a long time. You can sum up some of the activities of ENISE. I can talk about, for example, the European Month of Cybersecurity, coordinated by ENISE. It is in October, so it is today, this month. The landscape of the annual threat landscape, and it was published, the last version, a few days ago to this year, 2020. The second European law that I want to talk about is the ENISE Directive. It was the first European law about cybersecurity and security of information and networks. The ENISE Directive, I guess you all know about it, but it promotes and boosts cybersecurity in the European Union, the national cybersecurity capabilities, and for this it wants to strengthen the cooperation at a European level, and it created the ENISE Cooperation Group and also the CERTS network group to carry out this, which is the Computer Security Incident Response Teams, which I already guess that the participants in this event already know about this. So this ENISE directive, as many of you would know, has three main pillars. So the first one will be the stimulus and boosting the capabilities of the member states and improve their cybersecurity capabilities through different actions and strategies. And the other is the cooperation at a strategic level in the ENISE cooperation group, and also in the more operational level when in the CERTS network, which is, by the way, coordinated by the ENISE. And the last pillar of this ENISE directive, it refers to the necessity of the operators of essential services and also digital service providers. They have to adopt risk management practices which are proportional to the risks and cyber incidents they are facing. There's more European laws, as I said, the GDPR, and I would also want to talk about a very important one connected to cybersecurity, which is the EIDAS of certification of digital identity, electronic certifications. For example, to carry out cryptography and cybersecurity are essential elements to it. So now, if we go back to the jigsaw puzzle I talked about, I'm going to talk about the other color pieces. Now we are in blue, but they are not so, they are not the same. These are recommendations. The first one is the one called Blueprint in English. It's the coordinated response towards crises and emergencies. This recommendation that was launched some time ago has had a development. And in this image, you can see some steps. There's a specific work group about this coordinating project to, as I mentioned, a coordinated response to large-scale incidents and crises. There's a specific work group among the cooperation ENISE group. And another example of development of this are the tests of this concept during the exercises. For example, the Cyber Europe exercise already organized by ENISE during 2020. Another big challenge is the 5G security. And the Commission published its recommendations regarding this, and there were several steps already being carried out by the members of the Union. Also, during this work, by the beginning of this year, 2020, it was published the box of tools for the 5G security proceedings. It included some potential tools to be able to use at a technical level and also to fight against the technological threats and the strategical risks when it came out to networks. And as the last example of this group of jigsaw puzzle pieces, I want to also talk about a different communication of the Union. It's a wider communication which groups the European digital strategy. And among this package, you can see here the details. We can mention some aspects which are really related to cybersecurity. One of them is the FFDI. These are recommendations for surveying the exterior for European enterprises, for example, suppliers of cybersecurity. It's something that in Europe we want to do each time more, to be able to revise and to survey all of these investments that come from abroad, and they come to buy, to purchase many times European stuff, European products are not so big, which are innovating with a lot of potential, and also with the public bidding of 5G networks. And here's the last part of my presentation. I'm going to talk about funds. I guess there is an interest in this, and I'm going to talk about some initiatives which are being carried out in this area. But before talking about this, because maybe you know them, I want to step back a bit, and I want to say that in this moment we are living related to this pandemic, there's been some decisions made by the member states in July, which are very important, and they have not been published. One of these decisions is to carry out a new additional funds, which in English is called Resilience and Recovery Fund. And that I'm going to say the numbers. We are talking about 672,000 billion euros, and this is the main part of this fund, which is more known. From this 670 billion euros that they passed in Brussels, 672 are for this fund. And why do I mention this? Because the president of the Commission, the 20% of these funds, it's going to be only for digital transformation. When you do the mathematics, you can do it really fast. The 20% of 672, it's 134. So 134 billion euros of this fund are going to be dedicated to digital transformation. So as we have mentioned, these are two sides of the same story. So I must say that with this huge investment, never seen, there's going to be lots of opportunities of usage and investment. I'm not going to talk about all of them of this my speech, but I think it is very important to highlight and that you keep this in mind, that despite what I am going to tell to you, there's going to be additionally a huge amount of funds, of opportunities in cybersecurity. So now we're going to talk about other two funding programs, and I also want to talk about this proposal launched by the Commission in 2018 of a new regulation, European regulation, to establish a European Center of industrial technological competences in cybersecurity and the network of national coordination centers. So, summing up, the European Center of Competences and Network in Cybersecurity. This regulation that has had some differences and which negotiations is taking a bit of time. In the meantime, there was a dissolution, there was some elections in the European Union, then the pandemic has also affected to this negotiation between the Commission and the Council of the European Union, and they proposed three big agents: the European Competence Center of Technology, of Industry and Research in Cybersecurity, and the network of national coordination centers. And also the community. The community is you as the competent centers of cybersecurity in every size. The academy, the industry, the big enterprises, the small enterprises, and the final users. So what we want to do is to give a new legal side and vision to all of this ecosystem and to the community of cybersecurity. As I said, the two co-legislators, they have the volunteer to finish this work, at least before the end of 2020. So we are going to do the last steps, and we are going to consolidate the different versions of this drawing, and we guess we will arrive to this agreement before Christmas, and it's going to be adopted by the co-legislators and the Council of the Union by the beginning of 2021. And the center and the network will start to be carrying out the following year. The Commission didn't want to wait, but by 2019 they launched with the Horizon 2020 projects, which are known as the test projects in cybersecurity, to be prepared to this European network of cybersecurity competence network. These projects were introduced yesterday because I heard some of the speeches by Ana Yerbe, who is participating in the organization. Tecnalia is working on one of these projects. There are 4. We didn't want to do a big one at the first place. We wanted to do 3, but then we were able to get some more funds and they asked us to carry out 4, not only 3. So the total value of the European contribution is nearly 64 million euros for this work. There's 170 organizations of Europe and other associate countries too, the European Union, working here, and among them 20 more or less they are from Spain. So I want to encourage you, to the ones who are participating in this 14th edition of the ENISE, to get closer to these 4 projects. These test projects, they have their channels, their web pages, their accounts in LinkedIn, in Twitter, so you can follow them. Some of them, they like the podcasts, so they promote what they are doing. So I want you to learn from them, to get closer, because we have already told them to be aware, to pay attention, because you can knock on their door and their doors, they're going to be open. So you can try these projects of cybersecurity European networks. And I want to finish with 2 or 3 slides about the other 2 programs. I insist again, don't forget about the Resilience and Recovery Funds. 20% of it is going to be dedicated to digital transformation, and another side of this 20% it's going to be cybersecurity, the other side of it. But I'm going to talk about other 2 programs more in detail. The Digital Europe, which is a new program which didn't exist until today, and it's going to be launched very, very soon, from 2021. This program has 5 areas. One is cybersecurity, and among this cybersecurity area in the Digital Europe program, the budget is going to be more or less around 1,700 billion euros. So we are talking more or less 240 million euros per year for these European funds related to cybersecurity and everything that has not to do with research. Everything that is research in investigation. For the first period of 2021-2022, this Digital Europe is going to support the coordination national network, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, to prepare and reinforce the key features on cybersecurity, specifically a safe infrastructure against the quantum threats. Also support the certification schemes, as I already mentioned, these European norms on cybersecurity, and also supporting the capacities of certification, especially to the SMEs, to certify their products and their services, and also to give test banks to give more speed to these certifications, and also to deploy in society these tools in cybersecurity to promote a fast validation from the market for these innovative solutions in cybersecurity. A last thing in these initial priorities in the first 2 years will be to support the implementation of the ENISE directive, with other activities that were already started under the theft telecom program with national authorities, with CSERTs, with digital services providers also and the third search network I already talked about in the ENISE directive. Apart from this Digital Europe program, there's going to be an estimation of 1,700 billion euros in 7 years. It's also Horizon Europe program. This is the continuation of the 2020 program, and there's going to be one chapter of support to innovation in cybersecurity, as we've been already supporting in Horizon 2020, and now Horizon Europe, it's a bit more complex. This is the high-level map of Horizon Europe. In Pillar 2, we have what is called Cluster 3, and Cluster 3 is cybersecurity for society, and inside this cluster, we will have part of this budget dedicated to priorities of cybersecurity. So briefly, I'm going to indicate which are the initial priorities that we want to fund amongst this research and investigation. This is completely complementary to the other projects I already mentioned. So the priority, the first 2 years, would be investigation and innovation in resilient infrastructures and interconnected systems, hardware, software, and supply chain security, artificial intelligence for cybersecurity reinforcement, security qualification and certification, also in advanced cryptography, and in security, privacy, and ethics. And this is the last slide. I just want to say that what I've been able to tell to you in these minutes I had, you can also visit this webpage. This is the webpage of my unit, the one I work in. And apart from the things I already presented and I summed up, there are some other initiatives you can learn about, and it is connected to links with more details and more information. You can also follow us via Twitter. There you have our name in Twitter. And we also have a monthly newsletter via email to which you can subscribe. Well, the following slide, it's just to say thank you for your attention, and I think we have a couple minutes, so if you have any kind of question, I can answer them. Thank you so much. There is one question, yes. A question that I'm going to read it the way it's written. It's something that worries us, it's in the news. Could you please indicate if there is any initiative to identify underage in online services, for example, to limit their accesses to adult content, web pages, or even networks before the age that they should be using them? Well, I think the short answer is I'm not sure what is the answer to this question, but I do trust and I'm confident on that something of that kind exists or that can help to what the person that made the question is seeking for. Among the campaigns of awareness we performed, we have the Safer Internet campaign. And among this annual campaign, there's specific actions focused on minors. Apart from this, from the commission in which I work, and in others, they are really focused on fighting against cyber attacks, cyber crime. So is there are some authenticating systems that ask for some credentials that allow, without revealing the complete identity of the person using this, you can know the age, if he's underage, overage. And in this case, this mechanism can block the access of the person who is trying to authenticate himself to the service he wants to access.